What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Scream. First things first, I just want to go over my overall thoughts of this movie. I think this is an absolute classic. This movie never gets old. I've seen it countless times. I grew up watching it. It would always be on TV. I absolutely love this movie. So, I have very few dislikes. I wrote one dislike just because that's how I've been structuring the videos. I do the likes, dislikes, WTF moments. But yeah, my overall opinion of this movie is it's thebomb.com. It's just a grand old time. With that being said, I'm going to give you all a little plot summary. This movie is a classic, so for all you watch, I'm just going to give you a quick plot summary because for all you watching, you're like, dude, it's Scream. I know the plot. I mean, come on, I wasn't born yesterday here. But yeah, the basic plot is we're following a group of high school students. This one high school student, played by Drew Barrymore, gets killed, and then throughout the movie, the other students are stalked by the same killer. They don't know who it is. There's a lot of potential suspects. It's a whodunit type situation. People are getting picked off by this unknown killer, and that is the basic plot. So, like I said earlier, I am going to do this video in the structure that I've been doing recently, where I do likes, dislikes, and WTF moments. But before I get into all that, I do just have some random stuff that I want to talk about. So, I got the DVD right here. Just want to show you all. You're probably like, who cares? You have a Scream DVD, big deal. I have that. I got the Blu-ray. I got the 4K, whatever. But anyways, here's the back. I sure hope that's in focus. You got a little glare going on. But what are you gonna do? Can't win them all. If you see here, there's on the side it says Scream, and then I don't know how to pronounce it. I believe it's Frizzens. So the reason that, and it says it under there too. I don't know if you can see that. I can't even see my camera, but it has that Frizzens under it, and on the side, what that is actually, that is you can see this here. It says Canada. That's what I'm getting into right here. Focus. Yep. So Canada. So actually, yeah, that's just one of the stories that I wanted to go over, is when I got this DVD. So like I said, it says Frizzens on the side. That's French, and yeah, I picked this up in Canada. So I live in Michigan. So I mean, I'm right on the border. So once in a while, I would always go to Canada for a little day trip. And there was this really cool record store so the whole bottom of the store was a record store, and then they had an upstairs, and the upstairs there was this like small room, and every wall was just from the floor to the ceiling just filled with shelves of DVDs, and they had like a designated horror section. So I picked this up in Canada the same day I picked up Insidious and Disturbia. I haven't seen any of the Insidious sequels, but the first Insidious rules. It's a great time. But yeah, so I picked those up. When I got this movie, it was just like, it was the icing on the cake, because I was having a magical day overall. Like, went to Canada with my brother. We were turning up, hitting some bars, sipping some adult beverages, having a grand old time, walking around town, picked up Scream, picked up those other fantastic movies, and then I'm not even a gambler. Like, I've only been to the casino twice in my entire life, and I don't do any of that like online gambling or lottery or anything. But I was like, I'm going on a little day trip here. What the heck? We're turning up, sipping some drinks. I came through, got my movies. I'm like, might as well hit the casino. And I just spent like a couple bucks. I was just playing slots, and I instantly won $50. And then that might not seem like a lot, but I mean, if I only spent I think I spent like $3 to $5 and then won 50, and then I just left, because that's how it is. Like, once you gotta like cut yourself off, because like once you win, that's like how they make money. If you kind of like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna win again. But anyways, and then so yeah, then I won $50 and went and cashed out on poutine at Burger King. And a lot of you all are probably familiar with poutine. It's a Canadian delicacy. I think it is. I mean, maybe it's just a tourist thing. Like, maybe actual Canadians are like, man, we don't eat that stuff. That's whack. That's just some tourists. That's like, they keep it for profiling purposes. Like, that's how we know who the outsiders are. They order poutine. But I went to Burger King, got some poutine, got some weird like Canadian milkshake. It was so good. It was like with these weird Canadian candies. Not weird in a bad way, but like, it wasn't some Burger King you get in the US. And that might seem weird to you all. Like, why didn't you go to like a nice, restaurant? Like, why'd you just go to Burger King? I mean, Burger King rules. Sometimes fast food, it just hits the spot. And it was like right after the casino. And then, so came through, got some good movies, won some money, was turning up, got some poutine. It was just a magical day when I got this DVD. So I just wanted to share that little story. That's what's kind of fun about getting physical media, is like, you'll a lot of the times, if you have like a fun day, like when you bought it, or it was kind of like a fun process finding it, like you just found it at some garage sale or some estate sale or some thrift store. Like, that's what's kind of fun about physical media, is like, you'll have sentimental value because there's like a story behind it, so I just thought I would share that because it was a fun time. And then, this is not the same time I went there, but another time that I went to Canada for a day trip, there's this comic store, and they have all kinds of horror stuff. They have all kinds of horror figures. They had like a Leatherface figure from Texas Chainsaw 2. They had a Jason figure from Freddy vs. Jason. They had a Jason figure from Friday the 13th Part 5. And I was just like looking at them. I didn't buy any because like those are super expensive. But there was this one kid there, and he saw me looking at him, and we just started talking about Friday the 13th. And he's like, yeah, in Part 5, it's not even Jason. I'm like, yeah, it's Roy. I'm like, it's cool that they did something different, blah blah blah. And we were just talking about Friday the 13th, and he had a Jason tattoo on his arm. He was like showing me his Jason tattoo. It was like a little like cute little like cartoon Jason that was pretty sick. And then he was telling me that they were having Comic-Con in Canada like the next week, and Derek Mears, who played Jason in the remake, was coming, and he's like, man, I'm so excited. I love the 2009 Friday the 13th. I'm going to get his autograph. It's going to be awesome. So, I mean, whenever I go to Canada, I either like cash out on some nice horror films, or, I just meet some like random horror fans. So, I mean, I'm from the US of A, but I mess with Canada, shouts out if anyone from Canada is watching. I mean, I've always had good experiences going there. And I swear I'm going to get into the review here, but I do actually have one other quick little random story. So this is also related to Scream. So actually, I just started a new job the other week, and I believe it was the first day that I started. The manager went to the back, and he's like, "I'll be right back." And the assistant manager, he said, "I'll be right back." He's like, "You can never say that in a horror film." And I'm like, "Oh snap! This dude's a horror fan." Like, we started talking about Scream after that. I'm like, just like quoting like lines from Randy. I'm like, "Jamie, he's behind you. Look behind you." And then one thing led to another. We just started talking about horror throughout the week. He was talking about Halloween 3 and how it was underrated. He's like, "Yeah, I like Halloween 3. I like The Fog." We were talking about, yeah, just the Halloween franchise in general. We were talking about Hellraiser. So I mean, that's always cool when you start a new jobby and there's a fellow horror fan there. So I mean, I got a lot to talk about in that department. So I thought that was a fun little story. It's, it goes with the Scream theme. So I mean, that's what you got to do. Just shout out some movie quotes, and you make instant connections with people. So I actually do have one more random thing to talk about before I get into my likes, dislikes, and WTF moments. So the last random thing I want to talk about is, I don't know if you all feel like this, but okay, so in addition to being a fan of Scream and the Scream franchise, like most of the sequels, I don't like all of them. I haven't really checked out the newer ones. I don't like a lot of like the new movies from the bigger franchises. That's just me, but I was like pretty disappointed with some of the newer Halloween, so I just, they're not for me, a lot of the newer ones. But if people like them, good for you. I'm not hating. But anyways, yeah, I'm a fan of most of the Scream movies, but I'm also a fan of Scary Movie and some of the Scary Movie sequels. And I watched Scream before I ever watched Scary Movie. And if you all know Scary Movie, you know, is a parody of Scream for the most part. So now, I don't know if you all feel like this. This is what I was wondering. Like, whenever I watch Scream now, I can't like unwatch Scary Movie, so I always think of the parody scene when I'm watching the actual scene. I don't know if you all think like that, but like, when the girls, like, when the garage door is raising and the girl's in the door, I think of the scene where it's like the plus size girl is in the garage door in Scary Movie and it breaks, or whatever parody, or like when Drew Barrymore gets the knife through the chest. I feel like, no, I do remember this correctly. Yeah, in Scary, I was like, well, because I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember like the girl gets the knife in the chest and she has like like a implant, and her like implant comes out. So whenever, like, Scary Movie ruined Scream for me. Whenever I watch Scream now, I just can only think of like the parody scenes from Scary Movie. I'm just kidding. It didn't ruin it, but I was just wondering if that all if that happens to you all, where when you're watching Scream, after, like, since you've seen Scary Movie as well, you think about all the stuff from Scary Movie. And I'm just gonna hit you all with a fun fact here. This is probably common knowledge at this point. Everyone's probably like, dude, we know this. Come on, like, what you're telling us, this, we've known this for 50 years. Come on, like, what do you, this isn't new. Like, what do you think? You're the first guy knows. But the original title for Scream was Scary Movie, which is interesting because then Scary Movie came out and it's a parody of Scream. I don't know. I thought that was cool. Thought I would mention it. But yeah, shouts out to the Scary Movie franchise. Those movies rule. Mainly the first one, but I used to watch the third one like all the time back in the day with my buddy, with Simon Rex. I don't know if you all know Simon Rex. He's like he does like comedy rap too. It's pretty good, but he's the man. Shouts out Simon Rex. But yeah, the scary movies, the Scary Movie movies rule. They're a good time. They're hilarious, you know? But that's all my my randomness there out of the way. I just, wanted to hit you all with a couple fun facts, a couple little stories. Maybe I'm boring you. Maybe you're like, hey, just get to the movie review. Like, we already tuned out. Maybe no one even watches this video. Who knows? But anyways, I'm gonna actually get into the meat and potatoes here. I'm gonna get into my likes, then my dislikes, then my WTF moments. I don't know how long I've been going for, because I don't have like a timer. There's just a camcorder, but I feel like this is gonna be a long video. But it's Scream, so I mean, if it's a classic like this, you gotta do a long video. This might end up being an hour. Probably not that long. I'm just kidding, but it's gonna be a long upload with this 4K camera. Jeez, man. Ooh. I don't even want to think about it. All right, getting into my likes here. The video store scene is awesome. I like when what's his name? Randy he's talking about he's like, you need to watch horror movies. They watch Prom Night to save time, because I'm a fan of Prom Night. Something about that movie though. That movie's like too dark. Not like tonally, like not like the subject matter, but like the way they shot it. Like these fools, they never heard of lights before. I don't know if you all have seen Prom Night, but like the DVD, I have such a shitty DVD of that where, I mean, maybe if you have a Blu-ray it looks better, but like I can't even see what's going on half the movie because it's so dark. But I still like Prom Night. It's got that great whodunit element. I couldn't figure out who the killer was. Prom Night is a good time, but he shouts out Prom Night. And then I like when still in the video store scene, when Billy comes up to him and confronts him, and then he walks away, and then Randy's like, "You're telling me that's not a killer?" That was great. That's what I just wrote down. Randy with a big arrow for my likes, like a big, like, talk about Randy, because I think Randy is my favorite character. He's awesome. Another scene that I like, let me see. The video store scene. Yeah, like I'll get into other scenes probably eventually, maybe not. But other things that I like are just like the general horror references. Like I said, Prom Night, you got Halloween playing. He's like, when they're picking out videos to watch, he's like, "You trying to watch Hellraiser?" I caught that. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, another scene that I like is when he's going over the horror movie rules. He's like, "There are rules. You can't drink or do drugs. You can't have sex. If you say I'll be right back, you won't be back." He's like, the virgin final girl always, bests the killer. And me being a big horror fan, specifically a fan of slasher movies, I know all the tropes. It's really cool to like hear him spell it out like that. That is one of the best scenes in the movie. Another thing that I like is the mask. It's an iconic mask. It's one of the most iconic slasher masks of all time. I had the mask as a kid. It was like one of the first masks I had. When I was a kid, I just collected all kinds of horror masks. I still have in my garage. I have like 50. Like you could just get them anywheres. Like anywheres. I don't know how to speak English. You could get them anywhere. Like they had good Dawn Post masks. Like, I mean, they still make good masks. I mean, when you go to like nowadays, if you go to like a Halloween City or a Spirit Halloween, I feel like the masks are shitty now. But I mean, like Trick or Treat Studios and stuff like that, they still make good masks. But I feel like back in the day, and I'm saying back in the day, I'm in my 20s. Like back in the day, who is this guy in his 20s saying back in the day? Sounded like an old head when he's really a young buck. Sounded like a gosh darn fool. But I mean, I used to love collecting masks. I had just the plain Ghostface mask. I would wear it all the time. And I always remember too, they had the Ghostface mask with the where it had like the heart pump and the dripping blood. That was always really cool. I didn't have that as a kid. I just had the regular one, but I did pick that one up. Eventually, I found it at like a garage sale or something for $1, so I had to pick it up. That mask is sick. All right, moving on to other likes. I liked that there was like quite a few instances where Ghostface was just creeping around, like when they're picking up like chips and stuff for the party at the store. You see like Ghostface, you see his like reflection in the glass, and then when Sydney and I think the girl's name's Tatum, I could be totally wrong, but they're like outside on the porch talking, you see Ghostface like creeping in the bushes, like it's on some Michael Myers stuff. I like, he's like planning, he's creeping, it's just my kind of stuff right there. So yeah, I already talked about the horror references, but I mean, just to talk about more references, they reference Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. She's like, yeah, the first one was good, but the rest suck, which is funny because, Wes Craven directed this. He did the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and, he didn't really do the sequels except part 3, but it's kind of funny that he was like poking fun at his own. Well, he was not poking fun at his work because his work was the first one, but he was like kind of throwing shade at the people who made the sequels. But I actually like a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels personally. Like part 2 is probably my favorite. Like I like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 more than part 1, which may be blasphemous, but I don't know. I really like part 2. I like 2, 3, and 4 are solid. 5 is okay, but 2, 3, and 4 are really good. I do still like the first one a lot. It's a classic, but like I do like 2 more than 1. But yeah. Then there's speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, there's this one instance where there's this like janitor, and I think his name's Fred, and he's got the Freddy Krueger sweater on. I don't know if this is the case, but I feel like that was Wes Craven with like a disguise on with like a beard or something. I could be totally wrong, but it kind of looked like him, Who knows? I don't know. I would have to watch 3 hours of behind the scenes for that, and I don't feel like it. So let me see here. Okay, I'm winding down. I'm getting to the end of the likes. A couple more likes left, and then I'm gonna get into the dislikes, which I only have one, but I thought if I had 0, like, I mean, no movie's perfect. You gotta have one dislike. So yeah, I like that the characters are aware of other horror movies. They're referencing horror movies throughout the film. I feel like that was part of the reason why this movie was so fresh and iconic at the time. I don't know if it was the first. Maybe it was just the one that popularized it. Maybe it was one of the first, but it was like one of the first horror movies where the characters in the movie are aware of horror movies that exist, in real life. So that's awesome. And then for the last thing that I have here on my likes is I like how this movie is I'm talking. Sorry, it seems like I can't even like think words, but I'm just trying to think about what I'm gonna say. So, I like how this movie is kind of poking fun at genre tropes, and then it'll kind of do them differently, but at the same time, it like still is, it still is in that genre. So it's like it is still a slasher movie, and it does a lot of, conventional slasher things, but it switches some stuff up, because like there's one instance where Randy is talking about like the obligatory tit shot, and then when they're watching Halloween, and then it cuts to Sydney, and you don't see her topless. So it's like they kind of like they kind of play with your expectations a little bit, and then like when Sydney's talking about like it's insulting, like the girls in horror movies are so dumb and they just, you know, run up the stairs when they should be walking out the door, and then she just like runs up the stairs. So I like all that stuff, you know. It's a little bit smarter than your typical slasher. It's like it's an homage to the genre, and it's still like you can still watch it and as if it is a movie of that genre, because it is, and it plays out like a typical slasher, but at the same time it's like they subvert your expectations a little bit, and it is kind of satirical, making fun of some of the tropes. So that's pretty cool. Getting into my dislikes here, I just have one, and that is, so this, like I just said slasher movie 50 times, but I'm gonna say it one more time, sorry. For being a slasher movie, the kills aren't crazy, and that's with like every movie in this franchise, in my opinion. Like most of the kills are just like a stab, someone gets shot, a stab. Like the gore is not crazy, and the kills aren't anything crazy, but there are some creative kills, like the garage door kill is very creative. Excuse me. And then when Stu gets killed with the TV, that's pretty creative. So, you know, there are a couple creative kills, but I don't know. I just thought I would say one dislike, and maybe, you know, that's wrong of me to say that for, you know, talk about the entire franchise when I'm just reviewing the first movie, but they're connected. So that is something that I notice when I watch all the Scream films, is compared to other slasher movies, the kills are a little bit lackluster, but that doesn't really bother me that much because the overall story is so good that, you know, the like the kills aren't like the focal point. Like it doesn't, they're serviceable, they're fine, you know, it's all good. So that's all I have for my dislikes. Now I'm gonna get into my WTF moments, and then I'm gonna wrap things up. So the first WTF moment is when Dewey is at his desk at the police station. He has like a Dunkin' Donuts bag, and I never noticed that before, but I thought that was kind of funny because, you know, he's a police officer, and there's like that whole stereotype and running joke where it's like police officers like, you know, donuts. So I kind of, I don't know if, I mean, that probably was intentional. Maybe it was just, you know, the production designer, they were just like, oh, you know, let's give him like a bag lunch. But did it have to be a donut related restaurant? I don't know. I thought that was pretty darn funny. Another WTF moment also involves Dewey, and that's when he's eating the ice cream cone. Like the one guy's taking a smoke break, and Dewey's taking like an ice cream cone break. He's so funny because he's so like innocent and like kind of naive. Like he's this like 25-year-old dude, and he's just like eating like a little ice cream, like a little strawberry ice cream. And I haven't seen this movie in a couple years, so I was like, I didn't remember what he did with the ice cream, because I should have. That's a pretty important part of the movie. I'm not a real fan because I didn't remember that he ate ice cream. There goes my horror fan card out the window. But yeah, I totally thought that when the guy put out his cigarette, he was just gonna like throw his ice cream down and like smash it with his foot like a cigarette, but he didn't do that. That would have been cool though. Missed opportunity, you know. That would have put this movie to the next level. No, I'm just kidding. But that's another WTF moment. And then my last WTF moment is Ghostface is just so clumsy in this, and it's like it's hilarious. Like I'll just laugh. Like he's getting like glass bottles thrown at him, and he's like tripping over everything. And like I said, I haven't seen Scary Movie in a long time, but I feel like they made fun of that and that where Ghostface is so clumsy. A theory that I have heard is that when Ghostface is clumsy, that's when Stu is Ghostface, and when he's not clumsy, that's when Billy is Ghostface, which makes a whole lot of sense because when, like, at the end, after the killers are revealed, like when Stu is pursuing Sydney, like even when he's not in costume, he's just really aggressive and clumsy, and he kind of like acts before he thinks. So that makes a lot of sense. But it's like it's funny, like, and it's supposed to be like a serious killer in a serious movie. But I'm like, why is he tripping every 5 seconds and he gets like bested so easily? I mean, I guess because it's like they're supposed to be like dumb teenagers that they've never really like killed people before. So I guess that's realistic. But I just thought it was funny. It was like out of place because it's supposed to be like a serious, scary movie, and then the killer is just like a effing. It's like slapstick humor. It's like he's like one of like the Three Stooges or something. I don't know, but yeah, that was my last WTF moment, and I said everything I wanted to say about this movie. I mean, it's Scream. It's classic. I could talk about this movie for 10 hours, 20 hours. Maybe not that long, but I could talk about this movie forever. But yep, I went over everything that I wanted to go over. So I'm going to wrap things up here. I just want to thank you all very much for watching. Peace out.